Hello everybody. Have you ever watched the quiz show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? The quiz show where Jeremy Clarkson, the host, asks the contestants a series of questions. For each question that they get right, they can earn more and more money until the final question when they can win £1 million. For each question there are 4 possible answers. They have to choose the right one. And if they get stuck, there are 3 lifelines that they can use to help them. They can go 50-50, where 2 of the answers are taken away, left with a choice of 2. Or they can ask the audience, or they can phone a friend to see if they know the answer to the question. Now, since the quiz show began in 1998, there have only ever been 6 winners who have won the £1 million prize. And the last winner was 14 years ago when person number 5 won that £1 million prize. But very excitingly, just a few weeks ago, on September the 11th, a school teacher from Telford called Mr. Donald Fear won the £1 million prize. Wow, it was so exciting. You might have seen it. And the most amazing thing was he didn't even use all of his lifelines to help him with the answers. Wow. I wonder, if you won £1 million, what would you do with it?
I would pay for uni because that's very expensive. I would buy a car, a really nice car, maybe a Mercedes or a Ferrari, anything nice. And then I would go traveling. I'd travel the world, see everything, see every single continent. I'd really, really love to go to Vienna. I think that would be really nice. And then to top it all off, I think I would buy a house.
If I had £1 million, I would probably buy loads and loads and loads of plants and flowers for my house. That's probably it. And maybe a car.
I would buy a Ferrari, a big house by the sea, and with whatever money I've got left, I'd get as much McDonald's as I can carry.
If I won £1 million, I would definitely spend it on a trip to America. I've never been before, and it's one of those places that I'd love to go to. So I'd spend it on that, go around all the states, big road trip, and also make a trip to Disneyland in Florida as well. I'd love to buy a house, so I'd definitely buy a house with it.
I would pay off all of my uni debts, and then I would buy myself a nice house, maybe with a swimming pool. And then if there was any money left over, I would invest it or save it so that I could retire early.
If I had £1 million, I would pay Joe Wicks to come and be my personal trainer so I could have my own PE with Joe every morning. And I would also pay Jamie Oliver to come and live with me and cook all my food and show me how to do some amazing cooking because I love all the food that he makes.
If I won £1 million, I would travel the world and try to visit every country.
If I won £1 million, I'd probably pay off my tuition fees first, and then once I graduated, if we weren't in lockdown, I'd probably go travelling for a bit. But I think if we were still in lockdown, I'd probably buy myself a nice house in the middle of nowhere so I could isolate and go out for nice walks without I've seen anybody.
Well, I expect in your classes you gave lots of different answers to that question, and there were certainly lots of different answers given by the people that you saw on the screen answering. When Mr. Fear was asked what he wanted to do with his money, he said that he would like to travel first of all, especially to Canada. But then he went on to say that he planned to give 70% of his prize money away. That would be £700,000. And he was going to give it away to his family to help them out. Wow, that's a lot of money to give away. Did any of you say that you would give away your prize money of £1 million? We're going to play our own game today, but we're not going to play Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Oh no, we're going to play Who Wants to Be a zillionaire? And this is what you need to do. In a moment, you're going to pause the video and you need to choose somebody in your class brave enough to come and play Who Wants to Be a Zillionaire. There's going to be 6 questions. For each question, just like on the show, there will be 4 possible answers. You will also have 3 lifelines like on the show. You will be able to go 50-50 and your teacher will take 2 of the answers away. Or you can ask your class, or you can phone, ask a friend. If you get the answer wrong, then somebody else can take your place and carry on from where you got up to. So come on down. Who wants to play? Who wants to be a zillionaire?
Okay, here we go. Question number 1 of 6. What job did the last £1 million winner do? Was it A, head teacher, B, doctor, C, teacher, or D, vet? Okay, lock in your answer now. Okay, how are you feeling? It's not too bad, is it? Okay, here we go. Question number 2. What was the name of the teacher who won the £1 million? Was it A, Mr. Frightened, B, Mr. Fear, C, Mr. Scared, or D, Mr. Terrified? Now, do you need to use a lifeline? How are you doing? Is it still the same person or is someone new playing along? Here we go, this is question number 3. Who is the presenter of the show Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Is it A, Jeremy Clarkson, B, Jeremy Paxman, C, Philip Schofield, or D, Chris Tarrant? Now remember, you can use the lifeline. Here we go. Now this is question number 4 and the questions are getting harder. So, where does Mr. Fear come from? Is it A, Thetford, B, Tameside, C, Trafford, or D, Telford? Now don't forget the lifelines are there if you need them. Ooh, now here we go. This is question number 5. We're getting there. Where did Mr. Fear say he would like to go? Is it A, Colombia, B, Cuba, C, China, or D, Canada? Now lock in your answer now. Ooh, here we go. Question 6. Are you going to be a zillionaire? What did Mr. Fear say he would do with most of his money? Is it A, buy a sports car, B, travel to Canada, C, Give it away. Or D. Buy a motorhome and travel around the UK. Let's see, are you going to be a zillionaire?
Well, how did you do? Do you have a zillionaire in your class? Why a zillionaire? Well, we're thinking in our Groundbreakers assemblies this year about Jesus' teachings, and today we're going to be thinking about what Jesus had to say about money.
One day, Jesus was sitting in the temple with his disciples, and he was watching the people coming and going and putting their money into the collection pot, when he noticed a very rich Pharisee and a very poor widow coming into the temple.
Did you notice how the Pharisee looked all around to make sure that he was noticed as he put his money in the temple offering? And did you notice the widow creeping in very quietly, hoping nobody would notice as she slipped her 2 copper coins into the pot? 2 copper coins that wouldn't even have been worth a penny. Did you notice what a noise the Pharisee made as he dropped all his coins into the pot, wanting people to hear? But did you notice how the widow did it so quietly, not seen or heard by anybody except Jesus? Jesus turned to his disciples and said to them, "That widow, she's given more money than anybody else today in the temple." "What?" said his disciples. "The Pharisee put loads of money in. She only put in 2 copper coins." "But," said Jesus, "it's not how much you give, but how you give." The Pharisee had loads of money and he gave some of what he had and made a big show of it. He still had plenty left. The widow gave away all that she had. She didn't make a big show. In fact, she really hoped that nobody had noticed. But God noticed. And God notices when we're generous and we give what we have too. Especially when we think that we don't have very much to give. You see, you don't have to be rich to be generous. We might never win £1 million. We might never have £700,000 to give away like Mr. Fear did. But it's not how much we give. It's how we give. And we can all give something, however small. To the widow, giving was more important. She knew that God counts what we give and not what we have. And to know how to give is worth more than all the money in the world. In fact, if you know how to give, you're a zillionaire. Are you a zillionaire? Am I? Debs is going to lead us in a reflection to help us think about that now.
Many people today want to be rich, to have lots of money, to be able to buy fancy cars, big houses, and to go on expensive holidays. They really want to impress others. But God isn't impressed by any of that. He looks at our hearts. And he's more concerned with our attitude towards our money and other people. Are we selfish, wanting to keep everything for ourselves? Or are we generous? The widow in today's Bible story was very poor, but she had a thankful heart, and she was so grateful to God for all the things that he had given her that she wanted to share the little that she had with other people. Mr. Fear, now a rich man, when he won his £1 million, he said that he didn't particularly want to buy a big house or a big car. He had enough, but what he wanted to do was share it with people who didn't have as much as he had. The poor widow and Mr. Fear both had generous hearts. Now, we don't need to be rich or give money away to be generous. There are lots of ways that we can be generous. Could we perhaps give our time to help other people? Or could we show love and friendship to those around us who might be feeling lonely? Maybe we could use our talents to make other people happy. Today, could we all try to be more generous and less selfish? Dear God, we thank you that you are a generous God and that you have given us so many gifts. Help us to be generous and less selfish. May we use our time and the gifts and talents that you've given us to make the world a better place for all of us to live in. Amen.